Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and get comfortable for a minute. And I'm going to read one of my favorite readings from retired Minister Barbara Peskin. So if you want, close your eyes. If not, leave them open. It's titled Prayer for Those Gathered in Worship. In this familiar place, listen to the sounds of breathing, creaking chairs, shuffling feet, clearing throats, and sighing all around. Know that each breath, movement, the glance meant for you or intercepted holds a life within it. These are signs that we choose to be in this company, have things to say to each other, things not yet said, but in each other's presence, still trembling behind our hearts' doors. These doors closed but unlocked. Each silent thing waiting on the threshold between unknowing and knowing, between hidden and being known. Find the silence among these people and listen to it all. Breathing, sighs, movement, holding back. Hear the tears that have not yet reached their eyes. Perhaps they are your own. Hear also the laughter building deep where joy abides, despite everything. Listen, rejoice, and say amen. Amen. In some ways, this is the way that I think of summer. Whether it be sitting in the woods or on a stoop in the middle of the city, understanding that there are many different types of summer experiences in many different places with many different temperatures and levels of relative humidity. Understanding all of that, there's something that almost feels built into summer that calls on us to take at least a few moments along the way to close our eyes, sit back, and listen. Summer, if we are fortunate enough to have the significant privilege to be able to afford time off or vacations, remembering that so many folks don't have that privilege. It is a time when our part of the world is lush and green outside and full of life. It is often a time where there is a break for children, and although not always it may feel like a break for parents, it is a time that offers a little space from the rituals and requirements of the rest of the year. I freely admit that I will be trying to fit in a lot into my time off this summer. There's a lot to do, and we're also going to be on the road quite a bit. And for me, though, however, there is breathing space out on the road. We're going to do some cross-country traveling and to see my new great-nephew on the West Coast. He's the cutest child ever, just want you to know. And one of the reasons that we're driving part of the way is because in traveling in those wide open spaces, my mind is free at any moment to just take a break from the intensity starting that early August and runs through our General Assembly every year and notice what's going on outside my window and the places that we end up stopping along the way. There are times in each year that there is a natural flow of what one might call Sabbath. Sabbath is a religious term, yes. That means a day of religious observance or abstinence from work. But that word has taken on so many other meanings as well. Author Wayne Mueller says, Sabbath time can be a revolutionary challenge to the violence of overwork, mindless accumulation, and the endless multiplication of desires, responsibilities, and accomplishments, which I know is never the case in Northern Virginia. Sabbath is a way of being in time where we remember who we are, remember what we know, and taste the gift of spirit and eternity. Like a path through the forest, Sabbath creates a marker for ourselves, so if we are lost, we can find our way back to our center. Sabbath can only come with making a choice to take one. Can we make choices that will be rejuvenating, renewing, recharging for the school or work or congregational year to come? Can we make choices that are vital to our self-care and emotional and spiritual and mental health? Can we think about the choices that we will make with our time and our energy this summer that will give some sort of a Sabbath, some sort of time and a way to help ourselves renew what is at our center? I say this because as there seems to have been for almost now over the last 10 years, we've been through so much in this country, so much in this community, and so much, frankly, in this congregation. I don't need to tell you there is more to come. I wish more than anything, and I truly mean this, that I could just snap my fingers and wave my magic wand, and the events of the world would suddenly be transformed into a place of love and beloved community. I wish those were my magic superpowers, but they're not. But all of us have the power to make choices. Choices steeped in the practice of being Unitarian Universalists, of being good and kind people, which includes taking or making time for reflection, restoration, recharging, renewal, and to some degree repair. These don't have to be grandiose vacation plans. In fact, most oftentimes they're not. In some ways, they're about the choices we make in the little moments, the moments that afford us a connection with nothing and with everything. Margaret Fuller, a famous transcendentalist born in 1810, an editor of the most famous transcendentalist journal of her era, wrote a poem titled Meditations. It's quite a long poem. I have a little short excerpt from it. And she said, "Today for the first time I felt deity and uttered prayer on hearing thunder. This must be thy will, for finer, higher spirits have gone through this same process. Yet I think there was religion in that strong delight. Those sounds, those thoughts of power imparted. True, I did not say, here is the Lord thy God, but I had a feeling of their essence." Listen, I will never tell you what to believe from this pulpit. I'm often trying to figure that out for myself. What I do know is the thing that is often called to is that still small voice inside. Whether you think of it as conscience or your center or God or the divine or your best self or whatever, it's hard to hear that still small voice if it doesn't have space to be heard. Our everyday spiritual practices, if we have them, or even in a broader way, our attempt to understand our lives through any means of reflection are so important to living our values and living lives full of meaning. And one way to understand the divine is what is in us, what's between us, and what's beyond us. What's in us, what's between us, and what's beyond us. And this is certainly more available to us if we are open to it, if we make space for it, if we invite it into our lives, if we make room for a Sabbath and we actually listen. Again, in this faith tradition, you are not required to do this one way or another, or do it at all. It feels so important to connect with not just that still small voice, however, within, but also what's in us, between us, and what is beyond us, however you may access it. And spending a little time, just a little time, utilizing the beauty and space of summer, if we are so privileged or lucky to do so in order to make that space, to make these choices, and to find those vital connections. The challenges ahead are not small. We will need the sustenance of this shared connection and the care we find for ourselves and each other wherever and however we find it. As we return together as a community for our next congregational year in September at Ingathering, I'll look forward to hearing how you spent your summer vacation and hope that there were at least a few moments that helped to reflect, to restore, to recharge, to renew, and perhaps even to some degree repair as we live in the now and we prepare for whatever will be. I love you. And I will see you all again on July 21st. May that be so, and amen.